Hey guys, and welcome to another GameXplain discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined today by Andre Seegers and Ash Paulson to discuss all of the newly announced stages for Super Smash Bros. For Wii U, as well as our updated impressions for some since Andre and Ash were able to play them. But there are so many that we have to split this discussion in two, so let's not waste any more time and get to it. So, you guys both got to try out the game, obviously, and as we said before, Andre got to play a little bit more of it than Ash did.
A lot of it more of it.
But I still think even just myself being able to comment on all these new stages we got, because we got a ton. And we got a better look at a lot of the other stages as well, plus all the returning ones from Brawl, Melee, and 64. So this is just a nice little way to go intensively into each of these stages, see what we think, especially now that you guys have actually had some hands-on time with them, and see if our opinions have changed at all if we have, mentioned them before. Mm-hmm. So let's just start right into it and get into Big Battlefield. Which,
yes, the best stage ever made.
I know. This is what everybody's been clamoring for years.
Total Megaton announcement.
But no, I think you've mentioned it in our last discussion, Ash. It's Battlefield except bigger. Not really much.
It
else
really
to say.
is. I mean, even with 8 players, it does feel a little cramped. I'll admit, it feels a little chaotic. It's not that much bigger than the regular Battlefield, but okay, so it's Battlefield but bigger. I'm just waiting for like the big DLC pack where you get like big Final Destination and big Delfino Plaza and big versions of each stage. But no, I don't know. It's a strange inclusion, I guess, because it seems kind of like a throwaway to kind of help pad out the stage roster. But it's fine.
I will say, when they announced it during the Direct, that was probably one of the more surprising things in it, though.
That's true, I guess,
we've only ever seen we've only seen Battlefield ever in that exact same size and arrangement. Mm-hmm. And seeing it slightly different was kind of mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, in terms of the Direct, it was one of the more surprising things.
What is more interesting, in my opinion, though, is Donkey Kong's new stage, Jingle Hijinx.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which I think, just by looking at it, I think this might be one of his best stages, especially over Brawls.
Might be.
Well, I haven't played it yet.
I don't think there's any question. I mean, I haven't played it either.
It's definitely better than Brawls, but I'm saying it might be one of his best stages.
I know. I'm saying might be.
I haven't played it yet.
I haven't either. I mean, we got Rumble Falls. We've got Congo Jungle. We've got the 2 from Melee, Jungle Japes, and that awful waterfall stage. Yeah, I mean, without even playing it and just seeing video of it, I can also say that this is definitely Donkey Kong's best stage.
At the very least, it's the most true any Donkey Kong stage has been to one of his games. Mm-hmm. This looks straight up like a Donkey Kong Country Returns level, and even better, it plays like one, with a whole dual layer mechanic, which I mean, to me was, that and the 8-player Smash were the 2 biggest revelations during that Direct, and it is so cool to see them incorporate that mechanic into the stage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I really do like that it's kind of an effortless way to... It feels very effortless in the way it's implemented, and it's a very smart way to kind of work Donkey Kong Country Returns' native gameplay into Smash Brothers. It really does feel like it's its own stage where that doesn't really belong anywhere else.
I guess the only weird thing is, why it doesn't support 8 people? Because you would think the dual layer mechanic would lend itself perfectly to that, having 4 people, thereabouts on each plane.
It may be just that the stage itself isn't that big. It's kind of a smaller stage, and it may be that having 4 players in each plane in an ideal situation might just make it too hard to see the characters on the rear plane.
So that's one thing they should add a bigger version of then, right?
big Jungle Hijinx?
No, it would make sense to have 8 players, but yeah, you can definitely see why. Maybe because the dual layers would mess with the the frame rate, or they're just... What if everybody's on one plane and then all of a sudden you run into a whole entirely different kind of problem with space? So I can kind of see why they haven't done it, but I think it's kind of weird with only 4 people, because I was watching your match, and one person could you had a problem with one person going away and just sort of twiddling his thumbs while everybody racked up the damage, and then he would come in for the kill. This is a perfect stage for that.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I wonder is if, we only have the stage selection for all 8 people. We don't know for sure if, as far as I know, maybe more stages are available if you have fewer players than 8 but more than 4.
Yeah, that's something a lot of people have asked, and I wasn't able to find that out either, because they were very, just kind of ushering me along, try this mode, no, you don't get to do your own thing. So, yeah, I really wanted to know, but that was not to be, unfortunately.
Yep.
Yeah. I do like how this stage handles hazards, and that at certain points, and I mentioned this in my analysis, there's that statue thing that shows up in between the two planes for the right barrel in the foreground, and when you barrel up against it, you can crash into it and slam it down into everybody behind them and rack up the damage on them. But what I forgot to mention, and I didn't notice right away, is that you don't actually go to that stage to the background in that case. You actually ricochet off it and go back to the front. So it's a nice little way to rack up the damage and still stay safe.
That is awesome. Like,
that's really
such
cool.
a cool mechanic.
Yeah, I love that a lot.
The only other thing I could think of they could do, like maybe in a different stage that had dual layer mechanics, is like what if there was a way to smash people back to the other plane? Like what if you could smash people back and forth, like smash them in the background and smash them back into the foreground? That's the only thing I could see them adding, or that could be cool in one of these type of stages. If there are even more, there probably won't be, but...
Well, speaking of cool, Andre, I almost kind of wish they would have tied this into Tropical Freeze instead.
Ooh,
and have
that's
the front,
segue.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And the front path be like the typical tropical bit, and then the background be like ice covered and stuff.
That was going to be my only complaint about Jungle Hijinx. As cool of a stage as it is, it's just, I wish it was something from Tropical Freeze, just because we've seen the jungle motif done so many times. And we know from playing so many Donkey Kong games that Donkey Kong does a lot more than that. He doesn't just do jungle. And it's, I would have liked to see something like Seashore War or Sunset Shore. You know, something, I would have loved to see the silhouette visuals from Donkey Kong Country, both games actually, recreated in Smash Brothers. But even if not that, it would have been really cool to see something from Tropical Freeze.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I do, I mean, I agree with both of you, but, I mean, it's hard for me to say anything negative about this stage.
Sure.
Oh, no, the stage is great, but just, you know, we always have those, like, little tweaks and stuff that we would like to see, but the stage itself is great.
Like, it would have been cool if they actually had incorporated, like, the sunset motif, you know, silhouette motif, into the stage.
Yeah.
With, like, a setting sun or something occasionally.
Yeah, that would have been really neat.
At the very least, I'm hoping we get the Seashore War music in this stage as a selection.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
It'd be better. That's such a great soundtrack.
It really is.
Oh, they really need, like, almost the entire Tropical Freeze soundtrack.
Yeah, just rip the whole thing and just dump it all in there.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
All right, next up we got Gamer, which you actually got to check out a little bit more of on your second visit to the event. What do you think of that, Andre?
That level is awesome. I am a big fan of that level, for multiple reasons even. One, it actually plays well. I think a lot of people are concerned about that mechanic. Because basically it is based on the Gamer stage from Game & Wario. Very much so. Like, it's very true to that stage where you have to watch out for the mom appearing, and when she appears, in that case it would be a strike against you, as I recall. But this time it, of course causes your characters to go flying off. But I love the idea behind this stage, where you can dodge it by hiding behind the different obstacles, which are random, which appear in different configurations, kind of like Tortimer Island. Really, everything about the stage I love. It's fun and it looks great.
Yeah, I've only gotten to see footage of it so far. I haven't gotten to play it, but it really does look like one of the better Smash Brothers stages I've ever seen. The whole idea is hilarious. It's it works perfectly in the context of Smash, and it doesn't look like that when the mom catches you that it's too disruptive. Like, it looks like it does around 20% damage and some knockback, but it's not like it's instant death or anything.
Well, it can be if you're high enough in damage.
Yeah.
But no, it's not. It's not always an instant KO, which is great. Like, it feels like a really well balanced thing to me, and you also have ample time to dodge it too, because not only does the mother, when she appears, but she then scans the environment, with her laser eyes or whatever.
Right. So
as long as you can get out of the way before that happens, you're good to go. Assuming you don't get knocked back out into the open again, which is part of the fun of that whole stage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it looks great. I think that was the big worry, because they tried something similar where they tried to integrate the WarioWare games with the Brawl Wario stage, and that stage was fine. A little small, but I found most people just ignored the challenges that would come up in that stage. So it's nice to see it being a little bit better integrated with Gamer, and still having it be a part of it and make it unique, but not actually disrupt the flow of a typical battle. And I can see a lot of people really gravitating to this, because as you guys both said, it looks gorgeous. I like the layouts. I like how they can change. That way you're always trying to figure out, okay, as soon as the level starts, where's my best hiding spaces? And then they have the shadows there. It seemed to all just come together really well.
It does. It's surprising. considering Game & Wario was kind of a whatever game, and the fact they made such an awesome stage from it is pretty great.
This wouldn't happen, but I think it would be cool if there was like an extra mode for this stage where someone with a gamepad could control the mom and and actually decide when to pop out in which places and try to scan the players.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, and I just everything about the stage, like the atmosphere is great. In our video, we have music playing, which I actually thought worked pretty well, like the juxtaposition of. But there's also a song in the game that's complete silence for the track, so it mimics how it was in the actual game. So there's a bunch of creepy sounds. You can hear the mom sneaking around in the background. But by far, the scariest thing in this stage isn't the mom at all. It's a creepy old man who opens her window and waves at you.
Yeah.
It's like, what's that about?
Yeah, especially because it's like a little boy's room, which just it's suggesting all sorts of just unnecessary things.
WarioWare gets a little weird.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, as do I. This is by far the better of the two Wario stages. I just wonder if we're ever gonna get like an actual true Wario stage, not based on WarioWare, but based Game of Wario, but based on the Wario Land or Wario World series.
It doesn't seem like it because I think Sakurai removed the one move that Wario had in Brawl that was from Wario Land.
Which is so weird, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. I mean, I'm not a huge Wario Land fan, so that doesn't really bother me, but it's weird that Sakurai kind of acts like WarioWare is really all that Wario is known for.
Yeah, I played a bunch of the Wario Land games when I was a kid. I've enjoyed them all, but yeah, it's so odd that really hasn't stuck around that much in any real way other than his basic costume, but then he uses that for his if he teams up with for the sports games and whatnot. So yeah, it is odd that they are focusing more on WarioWare. I would like to see a couple Wario Land references, like Captain Syrup and some of the stages from there, just the General Gree, like a money pile or something like that. It would be interesting to see a different take on him, but Gamer is sort of perfect for a Game & Wario game.
Yeah, it works super well here. It's probably one of the more fun stages I've played on, which is saying something, but I've had a lot of fun on every stage for the most part.
Yeah, and you said you like it more than the WarioWare stage from Brawl.
Oh,
right?
without question.
Nice.
Yeah, I think it plays a lot better. I like that the environment itself doesn't change constantly, but you just have to watch out for the background. Like it really makes great use of how the level is designed in combination with the stage hazards. So.
Another stage we've talked about kind of extensively is Palutena's Temple, except this time Andre actually got to play it.
I did, in 8-player Smash.
So what'd you think?
I thought it played pretty well. I need to play around with it more. I did like it, but it has, it's kind of like Hyrule Temple, in that when you're playing with, when you're at higher percent, oftentimes you'll just bounce around a whole bunch, and it's pretty difficult to get KOs. Which is something I actually liked about Great Cave Offensive, which we'll get to shortly. So I don't know, it's something I need to play more of. I just like the fact I was playing 8-player Smash, and that was awesome. I will say, as it dwindled in players, that's when the stage started to feel a little bit too large. Especially because you can just run away, basically, from the other person and just turn into a chase,
Yeah.
So
it almost seems like 8-player Smash is almost better with time battles. That way everybody stays in.
Oh, I would probably agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because I got kicked out like maybe 5 minutes in the match, and these tend to go on for like 15 minutes as just 3 stocks, in my experience. Like 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that's a lot of downtime if you're playing stock where there's not much for you to do. So yeah, that would be the only downside, I would say.
I have not yet gotten to play Palutena's Temple. It seems like it kind of occupies a weird middle ground between Hyrule Temple and the Great Cave Offensive, but I mean, it seems like it could be fun. I'm just most hyped to, well, 2 things. One, Destroyed Skyworld from Kid Icarus Uprising. Kid Icarus Uprising is one of the song selections in that stage, and it's like one of my favorite songs ever, so that's awesome. But the other thing is Palutena's Guidance, which is the very first thing I am doing when I get my copy of the game and boot it up, is looking at every single conversation, because Kid Icarus Uprising had the most charming characters in like the last 10 years in gaming, in my opinion. So I'm very excited to see what they have to say about this amazing roster.
Oh, and there's so many characters to go through, too.
I know, and like, it literally laugh out loud funny lines throughout that entire game.
If you'd seen some of the guidances, there's some laugh out loud funny moments here. It's like
already
they're commenting about Donkey Kong, and he's like commenting on how he wears the stylish tie.
Yeah,
it's like doesn't leave much to the imagination though.
Yeah, and Shulk, how like Shulk's like, oh, his sword makes us look like a bunch of jokers, and I'm like, this is already great. My only demand is that Hades shows up in at least one conversation.
Oh, he has to.
Well,
he has to. It's Hades.
He has to, and Crumb shows up at one point. So they're even playing with that whole format. So that's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
And we even saw, too, Derek, like as you point out in the analysis, that you don't have to be playing as Pit necessarily for them to appear.
Oh, you don't? That's interesting.
Yeah, it's a weird thing where there was only Mario and Ganondorf, and they said you have to. I think during the direct they said like with Pit.
Yeah.
And yet those, there was still that conversation going on. It'd be really interesting if they like pit the observer or pit the one taking part in the actual battle.
Oh, this just got so much more exciting.
Yeah.
Right.
Moving on, we have our other huge stage, which is Great Cave Offensive, and I have a feeling this is either going to be a love it or hate it type stage.
Yeah, I mean, something I need to play more of, but I really did like my time with it. First off, it's based on the Great Cave Offensive, which is brilliant. I love that. It actually plays very similarly to what I first predicted, with it just being a massive stage, with the castle being at the bottom, and then, you can go elsewhere in the level, just like in the game itself. The only thing I didn't really expect were for those KO zones to be in the game. Which I think is almost a necessity. Especially with the level design they went with. Otherwise, you'd be ping-ponging around all over the place. They really needed some way to KO people in a different fashion besides just going off the screen. And from what I played, it seemed to work fine. I'll have to play more with a full game, but I really liked playing that level when I was there at the event.
I got to play this level today too, and I'm a little less convinced. I don't outright dislike the stage, but I need to play a little more because it is a giant stage, so having the camera zoomed out that much, either in 8-player matches or when, there are less characters who are just far apart, it really does make the action feel a little less visceral. It just feels like you're too far away from everything to really kind of get into it. At least that's how I felt. And I was playing on a pretty big TV. I don't know, I agree with you guys in that it's probably going to be more of a love it or hate it stage. It's just, I do think the danger zones are absolutely essential because of the kind of stage design that it is. But I don't know. When the camera pulls out that far, it's hard to really get into what's going on and really see it all that well. And I don't know. I just need a little more time with it to really decide how I feel about it. So I'm a little unsure at this point. But I don't hate it or anything.
I can't really give my thoughts. It looks great, but I do have the same concerns as you, Ash. And until I actually get some hands-on time, I really can't say too much about it. It just I can see both your points, and you basically both agree. Basically, the danger zones are essential for a stage like this, and it kind of surprises me that Palutena's Temple doesn't have any of those. Just because, but it is a lot more wide open, which might affect some of that stuff. So maybe that's why.
I will say that I am a little surprised. Look, Kirby Superstar is probably the best Kirby game ever. I love it. Oh, yeah. But we already had a Kirby Superstar stage it's already in the game again, which is Halberd. So it would have been maybe nice to see them use a stage for Kirby's Return to Dreamland or something a little more recent. But that's not the Great Cave Offensive's fault. It's still a cool stage. It's just interesting that both Kirby stages in this game are from Kirby Superstar.
You are being really offensive right now.
I apologize. Hey, you know what? I will say, I sound like a broken record, but I got a really cool remix of the Crystal Cave theme from the Great Cave Offensive as my song when I played, and that gave me goosebumps. So I was very happy.
Yeah.
Nice. Moving on to our next stage, Mario Kart 8's Mario Circuit, which when people first saw this stage, I don't think anybody was really impressed with it. It was like sort of like, really? That's the track you picked? But I think after seeing it in motions and everybody playing it, you getting your hands-on time with it, Andre, and then people seeing your footage from it, I think this is going to become a fan favorite.
Dude, I love this stage. I love the fact that it exists. It's a relatively recent game. Super recent game. Mm-hmm. And the stage plays so well with it. It is such a... I think this stage actually works better here than it does in Mario Kart 8. Because you can actually fully better appreciate, the detail and the anti-gravity, because when you're actually racing on the racetrack, it's hard to tell when you're actually going upside down and through these loops and whatnot. Whereas here, it looks freaking awesome. And it is so cool when you park along different parts of the track, and depending on where on the track you are, the Shy Guys come in from different angles. Like if you go up against a wall, you have to watch out for Shy Guys at different altitudes, or they might come across, or they might come at you from along the ceiling, for instance, if they're overhead. I just love everything about this stage. It is great, and it's by far the best Mario Kart track they have had in a Smash Bros. Game.
Yeah, I agree. I initially was kind of unimpressed because it's like, wait, we just had Mario Circuit and Brawl, so they couldn't have used any other track, and I still kind of feel that way in terms of the overall theme of the stage. I wish they would have used almost any other track from Mario Kart 8 just to differentiate the theme from the Brawl version of Mario Circuit. But you know what? That's neither here nor there. The stage looks really cool. I do love the idea that depending on where you park in the stage and where it stops temporarily, you might have the track is going to be a wall to your right, so you can smash opponents off the wall. Shy Guys are going to be coming in toward the right side, whereas another part they might be, you might have the track as your ceiling. So it really is a dynamic stage, and that the track can be in really any location depending on where you stop, and it kind of changes the flow of the match, in my opinion. And it's just a really neat looking stage.
Yeah, it's weird in that, in principle, it's very similar to one of the F-Zero stages. But to me, it feels a lot better. Like, I feel like they're doing more with the concept here than they did with the F-Zero concept.
Which
is basically the same thing.
Yeah, it is. I think mainly I just would have liked to see something a little more different thematically, using the anti-gravity in the same way. But it's a beautiful looking stage.
Mm-hmm.
I love how it changes things up, because I was watching your recorded match there, Andre. I love how one person got smashed to the side, and it just so happened that it had come to a stop where the track was on the right side, so they just bounced off it harmlessly. Not harmlessly, but they still got hurt, but they didn't actually get knocked out. So that kind of dynamic just makes me really love this stage, because you really do have to pay attention to where the walls are at in order to determine where you want to send that person flying to. And you could get you can have your bacon saved up by that as well. And it just really works. The only thing you're mentioning about how they might want to use a different stage, I kind of wonder, this might get blown apart by the fact that Yoshi's Woolly World is in here as well, but I believe, wasn't Mario Circuit the first track shown off for Mario Kart 8? So maybe that was the first track done and ready to go, so that's what they had to base it on.
It was one of the first, yeah.
But it's also, it also probably, the one that best showcases the anti-gravity, or at least track design you can do with it. Because the whole thing's a Mobius strip. And that looks pretty awesome, being able to fly around that. So it's probably a stage that best embraces that concept, maybe. So maybe that's also why they ran with it. It feels a lot different to me than the Brawl Mario Circuit, which is god awful. I hate that stage.
Yeah, and in fact, that may be the kind of the double-edged sword of this excellent new Mario Circuit, is that it really does highlight how terrible the old Mario Circuit stage is.
All right, moving on. We have another stage we've talked about a lot before, but they finally got the last element of it, which is Pyrosphere, and the fact that Ridley is indeed a boss here. So, once again, I defer to you, Andre. What do you think of Ridley being a boss, and how he affects the stage? Well, this stage.
I'm not sure yet. Again, I didn't play. Some of these stages can get pretty good feel for after just a match or two, which I only had on most of the stages. This is one of those where I'm not quite sure yet. Because Ridley is a pretty big factor, both literally and from a gameplay perspective. And so far, going off the 3DS one, I've not been a huge fan of the boss characters. I found them to be a little bit too intrusive, or not even just the boss characters, but also including the Flying Man, which I don't know if he's a boss or not. But I guess Ridley's closer to the Flying Man than he is a Yellow Devil. But I think but like the Flying Man, I think the attention might focus a little bit too much when he's on the stage. But I do like the fact that if you take him out, you get a KO with him. It counts as a point in your favor. So that's cool. And it did take a little while for him to show up, as I recall. So he's not nearly as bad as the Yellow Devil. So I really just need to spend more time with it. Otherwise, the level seemed pretty boring without him. So maybe that's why he's there.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of get the same sense from Ridley. He seems to be a little too big, and that's not even a pun. He really does seem to be a little too big and intrusive, kind of like a Yellow Devil, to make that stage that, I don't know, interesting for me. He just seems very disruptive, and I haven't played the stage myself, so I can't say that for sure, but I'm not really crazy about how they went about implementing him in this stage, so I don't know. This is kind of a stage I can either take or leave. I will most likely would rather keep Ridley off, just based on the footage I've seen, but I'm going to give it a try and see what I think. But he does seem really intrusive.
See, I find him better than Yellow Devil, just by pure visual standpoint. Because Yellow Devil, his big problem is he takes up so much space on that.
He really does.
On the Mega Man stage. And that really disrupts it, because you lose so much fighting area. With Ridley, I don't see that at all in any of the gameplay I've seen so far with him, because he's constantly moving. He even gets off the stage at some points, and you still have the clear point. And then the whole fact that he joins your team, which to me is a lot more useful than trying to explode Yellow Devil and get people caught in, because I have a smart bomb for that. So Yellow Devil never seemed exactly that special to me, but Ridley, and the fact that you can get him on your side, other people can steal him to their side, or you can even kill him when he's your partner in order to get a point. There's a lot more dynamics there with Ridley, and I don't know, I find him a lot more interesting than Yellow Devil, and I don't find him quite as intrusive as a result.
That's a really good point, Derek, is that he's a lot more mobile. I didn't think about that. He doesn't just stand in one place and then shift to the other side of the stage like the Yellow Devil does. So you bring up good points. He might actually end up being a lot more viable gameplay-wise in terms of just not being too disruptive. So that's a really good point.
Here's what I'm wondering. When are we ever going to get a Metroid level that's not based entirely around like lava or acid?
Right? Give me the Phendrana Drift, man.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's what I want for a Metroid stage. That would be perfect.
There is a serious lack of like snow-based levels, really, in general.
Yeah, there is, huh? I think Mount Wario would have been a great traveling stage for the Mario Kart series.
That would have been.
That would have been an awesome traveling stage. But
there's so many places you could stop along the way.
I know. Now that I've planted a seed.
Well, see, now you guys depress me in another way. When there's no snow-based level, well, no duh, there's no ice climbers.
Yeah. That's true. How mean would it be if Summit was an unlockable stage?
I actually do like Summit too.
Oh, I like it, but how mean would it be just to have that stage without the ice climbers?
It would be horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright guys, I think that about covers it for part 1 of our Smash Bros. Wii U stage discussion, but of course stay tuned for upcoming part 2 where we cover the rest. So thank you guys for watching, and if you like this video, be sure to like us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain, and of course stay tuned to GameXplain for more on Smash and other things gaming too. Until next time guys, bye.